Did you know that over 500,000 Australians have packed up and moved to a different state in just the last few years? That's not just a trend, it's a mass migration. Cities once seen as dream destinations are now being left behind, and the reasons will leave you stunned. From skyrocketing rents to crippling traffic, and even the slow loss of local culture, something big is shifting across Australia. But here's the real shocker. Some of the places people are fleeing are still being promoted as the best places to live. So what's really going on? Why are people turning their backs on cities like Sydney, Melbourne, and Byron Bay? And more importantly, which city might be next? Stick with us, because today we're counting down the top 10 cities Australians are leaving before 2026. And trust us, you'll want to hear what's driving people out.
Number 10. Byron Bay. Once a sleepy coastal town known for its surf, spirituality, and laid-back lifestyle, Byron Bay has become almost unrecognizable, and not in a good way. What was once a hidden gem has turned into a playground for the rich and famous. And the locals? They're being squeezed out, fast. Over the past few years, property prices in Byron Bay have soared to jaw-dropping levels, making it one of the most unaffordable places in Australia relative to income. Many lifelong residents can no longer afford to live in their own hometown. Some are being forced to move inland to surrounding towns like Mullumbimby or Lismore, where housing is still within reach, at least for now. What's behind the change? The rise of short-term rentals like Airbnb has turned entire neighborhoods into tourist hubs. Combine that with an influx of celebrities and remote workers chasing the Byron dream, and you get a town that's bursting at the seams. Locals report feeling like they live in a theme park, with overcrowded beaches, constant traffic, and skyrocketing costs, making everyday life a challenge. And it's not just about affordability. Community identity is fading. Small businesses are struggling to keep up with tourist demand, and essential workers, nurses, teachers, tradies, are moving out because they simply can't afford to stay. The irony? People are leaving Byron Bay to find the very lifestyle it was once known for: peace, nature, and community elsewhere. If you've ever dreamed of moving to Byron Bay or you already live there, this trend might surprise you. Could this be a warning sign for other popular hotspots? Let us know in the comments. Have you noticed these changes in your city or town? Don't forget to like this video if you're learning something new, and subscribe for more deep dives into real Australian life.
Number 9. Gold Coast. The Gold Coast has long been painted as the ultimate Aussie dream. Sun-kissed beaches, high-rise living, and a vibrant nightlife scene. But behind the shimmering skyline and tourist buzz, many longtime residents are quietly packing up and moving on. And the reasons go far beyond just the rising cost of living. In recent years, the city has undergone rapid overdevelopment, with new apartment blocks popping up faster than the infrastructure can handle. What was once a relaxed coastal lifestyle has become a hustle of congestion, construction noise, and overcrowded public spaces. Locals who once enjoyed a slower pace of life now find themselves caught in a city that feels more like an extension of Brisbane or Sydney, fast, flashy, and increasingly disconnected. Add to this the constant influx of tourists and short-term holiday renters, and the result is a gradual erosion of community life. Some neighborhoods feel more like hotel zones than actual communities. Schools are overcrowded, healthcare systems are under strain, and traffic has become a daily nightmare, especially during peak holiday seasons. There's also a growing feeling among residents that the city is losing its soul. The charm that once made the Gold Coast a local favorite is fading under the weight of commercialization. Even locals in once tranquil areas like Burleigh and Palm Beach are beginning to feel the shift, with rising noise levels, inflated property prices, and a constant churn of short-term visitors. While the Gold Coast still holds appeal for many, especially retirees and tourists, a significant number of young families and working professionals are leaving in search of quieter, more affordable places with stronger community ties. Nearby regional towns and hinterland areas are seeing a noticeable uptick in migration as former Gold Coast residents look to reclaim the balance they've lost. The dream is still alive, but for many, it's now somewhere else.
Number 8. Sydney. For decades, Sydney has stood tall as Australia's most iconic city, home to the Opera House, Bondi Beach, and a booming economy. But behind the postcard-perfect image lies a growing crisis that's pushing residents to the edge and out of the city altogether. Sydney is no longer just expensive, it's becoming unlivable for many. The cost of living in Sydney is among the highest in the world, with average rents and home prices reaching levels that even double-income families struggle to afford. A simple life in the suburbs now comes with a hefty price tag, and owning a home within commuting distance of the CBD feels like a pipe dream for most young Australians. Even basic groceries and utilities are costing more here than in other major cities across the country. But it's not just about money. Traffic congestion is getting worse, public transport is often overcrowded, and infrastructure is under immense pressure from the city's growing population. Many residents report spending hours in traffic each week, only to come home to tiny apartments or share houses with rising rents and limited green space. Sydney is also becoming increasingly fast-paced and fragmented, with work culture demanding more and lifestyle satisfaction offering less. People are beginning to question what they're really staying for. The city's charm, its beaches, harbors, and multicultural vibrancy, is being overshadowed by daily stress and burnout. As a result, a growing number of Sydneysiders are heading north to Queensland, south to regional NSW, or even to Tasmania, chasing more space, less pressure, and a better work-life balance. What was once seen as the ultimate destination is now being traded in for something simpler, and arguably something better. For many, leaving Sydney isn't a step down, it's a leap toward freedom.
Number 7. Melbourne. Once hailed as the world's most livable city, Melbourne is now facing an identity crisis that's driving thousands to reconsider their future in Victoria's capital. Known for its vibrant art scene, multicultural energy, and iconic laneways, Melbourne still holds charm, but post-pandemic life has left deep cracks in its foundation. The city endured one of the world's longest lockdowns during COVID-19, and the effects are still being felt. Many residents report a lingering sense of burnout, isolation, and economic fatigue. Businesses closed, office towers emptied, and for many, the sense of excitement that once defined the city has dulled. While life has resumed, it hasn't quite bounced back to what it was, and for some, it never will. Adding to the pressure is soaring housing demand, with both renters and homebuyers facing stiff competition and steep prices. Suburbs that were once considered affordable have now joined the ranks of premium markets, pushing people farther out, sometimes well beyond the urban fringe. But longer commutes come with their own challenges, including limited public transport, overburdened roads, and fewer job opportunities nearby. On top of that, urban sprawl is stretching resources thin. Schools, hospitals, and community services are struggling to keep pace with growth, particularly in the outer suburbs. And while Melbourne's cultural heartbeat still beats strong, many feel the cost of maintaining a city lifestyle now outweighs the benefits. That's why increasing numbers of Melburnians are choosing to escape the stress and noise. Regional towns like Ballarat, Bendigo, and Geelong are becoming hotspots for those seeking a slower, more balanced way of life, still connected, but far from the chaos. Melbourne isn't losing its soul, but it is shifting. And for many, that shift has become a clear sign that it's time to move on to something more sustainable and more fulfilling. Number 6. Canberra. As Australia's capital, Canberra has always had a unique identity: clean, organized, and politically powerful. But despite its reputation for being well-planned and relatively peaceful, more and more residents are deciding that Canberra no longer meets their lifestyle needs. Beneath the calm exterior, a quiet exodus is underway. One of the biggest issues is the rising cost of living. While Canberra's median income is higher than the national average, so is the price of housing. Property prices and rents have surged over the last decade, pushing many young professionals and families to their financial limits. For a city that once promised affordability with stability, that promise is fading fast. Beyond the economics, Canberra is struggling to keep younger generations engaged. Its structured, government-centric culture, while ideal for policymakers and public servants, can feel limiting for creatives, entrepreneurs, and those seeking a more dynamic lifestyle. The nightlife is modest, the entertainment scene relatively small, and social circles can feel tight and insular. Additionally, Canberra's weather extremes, with freezing winters and dry, hot summers, don't help its appeal. And while its layout makes commuting easy, many still feel the city lacks the cultural buzz and emotional warmth found in Australia's bigger hubs. As remote work becomes more accepted, the appeal of living in Canberra purely for career reasons is weakening. People no longer feel tied to the capital to maintain federal jobs or corporate roles, especially when those same roles can now be done from coastal towns or regional areas with a better lifestyle offering. Many Canberrans are heading to places like the NSW South Coast, the Snowy Mountains, or even across the border to Victoria in search of a more engaging, affordable, and fulfilling way of life. Canberra remains polished and practical, but for many, it no longer feels like home. Number 5. Perth. Perth, the sun-drenched capital of Western Australia, has long been seen as a city of opportunity, mining wealth, pristine beaches, and wide open spaces. But despite its natural beauty and laid-back vibe, a growing number of locals are quietly heading east or beyond, looking for something Perth is struggling to offer: economic stability and connection. The city's heavy reliance on the resources and mining sector has always been a double-edged sword. During boom times, Perth thrives, but when the market cools, the impact ripples through the entire economy. Job losses, slowed infrastructure development, and a noticeable dip in opportunity. This volatility has left many residents feeling uncertain about their long-term future in the city. Geography is another challenge. Perth is one of the most isolated major cities in the world, and that isolation is starting to feel more like a burden than a charm. The distance from other major Australian cities limits both business opportunities and personal connections. Many report feeling cut off from the rest of the country, especially as remote work allows people to live anywhere but still stay connected to larger economic hubs. There's also growing concern around urban sprawl and housing affordability. While Perth was once praised for its affordability, prices have been climbing steadily in recent years. Combined with rising living costs and stretched public services, many families are questioning whether the lifestyle benefits are worth the financial pressure. On top of that, young people are increasingly leaving in search of more vibrant cultural scenes and broader career options. Cities like Melbourne, Brisbane, and even Adelaide are attracting younger demographics with their balance of work, play, and lifestyle. Perth still offers a peaceful, scenic way of life, but for many, the trade-offs have become too significant to ignore.
Number 4. Hobart. Once one of Australia's best-kept secrets, Hobart has undergone a dramatic transformation over the past decade. Known for its heritage charm, stunning natural beauty, and slower pace of life, It attracted people seeking an escape from the chaos of mainland cities. But ironically, that very appeal has triggered a wave of changes that are now pushing many locals to leave. The biggest issue? Housing affordability. Hobart has experienced one of the sharpest property price increases in the country. What was once an affordable haven is now out of reach for many Tasmanians, especially first-time buyers and renters. Locals have found themselves priced out of their own neighborhoods as investors and mainland migrants snap up homes, often turning them into short-term holiday rentals. This surge in demand has created a housing crisis. Rental availability is at record lows, and those who do manage to find a place are often forced to pay premiums that don't match local wages. Essential workers, nurses, teachers, hospitality staff are among the hardest hit, with some even leaving Hobart altogether due to the unsustainable cost of living. The city's infrastructure is also under pressure. Roads, schools, and hospitals were never designed to support such rapid growth. Traffic congestion has worsened, especially during peak tourist seasons, and public services are struggling to keep up with demand. Culturally, some residents feel Hobart is losing its identity. The influx of mainlanders has brought change, some welcome, others not. Long-time locals report a growing divide between old and new residents, with a shift in values, priorities, and even lifestyle expectations. As a result, a number of Hobartians are opting to move to regional parts of Tasmania or even return to the mainland, seeking a life that aligns more with the Hobart they used to know, calm, connected, and affordable.
Number 3. Darwin. Darwin, Australia's northernmost capital, is a city like no other. Tropical, remote, and culturally rich, with strong indigenous heritage and a frontier spirit. But despite its uniqueness, Darwin is experiencing a steady population decline, with many residents choosing to relocate elsewhere in Australia. And the reasons go far beyond the heat. First, Darwin's extreme climate is a major factor. With high humidity, intense monsoonal rains, and scorching dry seasons, the weather can be overwhelming, especially for newcomers. For many, the tropical lifestyle loses its appeal when daily life becomes a battle against heat waves, cyclones, and seasonal isolation. Then there's the cost of living, which is surprisingly high for a city of its size. Due to its remoteness, the price of goods, everything from groceries to fuel, is significantly above the national average. Combine that with limited housing availability and rising rents, and the financial pressure can be too much, especially for families and younger workers. Job opportunities, while strong in defense, government, and mining, are limited in other sectors. This has led to a high turnover rate, particularly among professionals in education, healthcare, and retail. Many who come to Darwin for work end up leaving within a few years, seeking better career progression and broader opportunities in larger cities. Socially, Darwin can feel isolated and transient. With a population that often comes and goes, it can be hard to build long-term community connections. While the local culture is vibrant and diverse, some residents find the social and recreational options limited compared to bigger urban centers. As more Australians prioritize work-life balance, access to services, and affordability, Darwin's challenges are becoming harder to ignore. For many, it's a city best suited for short-term adventure, not long-term settlement. And that's exactly why more people are choosing to leave than stay.
Number 2. Brisbane. Brisbane, the sunny capital of Queensland, has seen incredible growth over the past decade. Booming infrastructure, rising property values, and a fresh reputation as a lifestyle city.
But behind the scenes, a growing number of locals are starting to feel that Brisbane's rapid transformation is coming at a cost, and many are deciding it's time to move on. One of the biggest challenges is affordability. Once seen as a more budget-friendly alternative to Sydney and Melbourne, Brisbane is quickly losing that edge. Housing prices have surged, rents have climbed, and the cost of everyday essentials has followed. For many residents, especially young families and low to middle income earners, staying in Brisbane now feels financially unsustainable. The city's infrastructure is also struggling to keep up with its growth. Roads are becoming increasingly congested, public transport is often overcrowded, and schools in many suburbs are at capacity. While billions are being spent on upgrades in preparation for the 2032 Olympics, those improvements take time, and residents are feeling the pinch in the meantime. Culturally, some longtime locals feel that Brisbane is losing its relaxed, community-focused vibe. As more high-rise developments pop up and gentrification spreads through the inner suburbs, the city's starting to feel more corporate, more crowded, and less personal. There's also the challenge of climate and weather events. Brisbane has experienced several severe floods in recent years, causing significant damage to property and infrastructure. These events have made some residents feel uneasy about the city's long-term livability, especially as extreme weather becomes more common. With rising costs, environmental risks, and a shifting lifestyle dynamic, many Brisbaneites are opting for nearby alternatives like the Sunshine Coast, Toowoomba, or even relocating interstate. The city is still growing, but not everyone wants to grow with it. For some, Brisbane's golden promise is beginning to fade.
Number 1. Adelaide. Adelaide has long been considered one of Australia's most livable cities. Affordable housing, a slower pace of life, and a strong sense of community. But despite its many advantages, an increasing number of South Australians are quietly making the decision to leave. And while the reasons might not be as dramatic as in larger cities, the trend is just as real and just as revealing. One of the main drivers is limited economic opportunity. While Adelaide has made progress in industries like defense, space, and tech, the job market remains relatively narrow compared to cities like Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane. Many young professionals and recent graduates feel the need to move interstate to advance their careers or find better-paying roles in their chosen fields. The lack of major corporate headquarters and startup ecosystems also makes it harder to grow professionally without relocating. There's also a growing concern about population stagnation and its impact on the city's vibrancy. As more young people leave, the city risks becoming less dynamic and more inward-looking. This has knock-on effects, including fewer entertainment options, slower cultural growth, and less innovation in the local economy. While Adelaide is still considered affordable compared to most other capitals, housing prices have surged in recent years, especially in desirable suburbs. The increased cost of living, combined with stagnant wage growth, has left some residents feeling stuck, unable to get ahead financially. For families, educational and extracurricular opportunities can feel limited compared to what's offered in larger cities. And while the lifestyle is calm and manageable, for many, it can start to feel too small, too quiet, and lacking in long-term excitement. Adelaide still offers a good quality of life, but for those seeking ambition, energy, and more choices, it's becoming a stepping stone rather than a final destination. As we've seen, a growing number of Australians are making the difficult decision to leave cities they once loved. Not out of impulse, but out of necessity. From skyrocketing housing prices in Byron Bay and Sydney to economic limitations in Adelaide and Darwin, the reasons are as diverse as the cities themselves. What's driving this shift isn't just the cost of living, it's a deeper desire for balance, connection, and sustainability. People are rethinking what they value most: time, space, community, and opportunity. The pandemic accelerated these changes, but the underlying issues have been building for years. and now the cracks are impossible to ignore. Interestingly, many of the cities on this list were once considered the ideal places to live. But as times change, so do our priorities. Australians are now seeking out regional areas, coastal towns, and smaller communities that offer a slower pace, lower costs, and a greater sense of well-being. This doesn't mean these cities are doomed, but they are at a crossroads. Without thoughtful planning, better infrastructure, and a renewed focus on livability, the exodus is likely to continue. At the same time, this shift opens up important conversations about how we build more resilient, inclusive, and future-proof cities. So, whether you're thinking about leaving or just curious about where the country is heading, one thing is clear: Australia is on the move, and the next few years will reshape the map in ways we're only beginning to understand. Where do you stand in all of this? Are you staying put, planning a move, or still deciding? Whatever your story, the landscape of Australian living is changing, and it's happening faster than ever.